Hi, my name is Jason Bunn-Parsons, and I'm an autistic self-advocate, and with me is my mom, and this is part 3 of this series of getting autistics jobs and off-public assistance, and actually technically this is part 4, but anyways, part 1, the impact of what was the impact of autism Asperger's perceptions on autistic Aspie employment was part 1. Okay, part 2, which we kind of, well, basically we skipped over because people wanted, the stuff in part 3 talking about how to actually get the jobs, and so the impact of U.S. social services on autistic Aspie employment, dealing with the system. A lot of people weren't really that as interested in it as I am, so at their urging, I skipped over that. We will do it next month, okay? So this is actually the second half of part 3, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of autistics Aspies in relationship to employment. And then part 5, when we get to it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of autistic employment and volunteer experiences. And so that's basically what I'm hoping is for autistics to volunteer, to go through their entire work history and to discuss, what they did. Yeah, maybe a job that they had was 90-95% bad, but what about that 5 to 10% that was good? Is there a job out there that ties more into to that 5 to 10% that was good? As well as volunteer experience, because as a volunteer you get a chance to try things you ordinarily wouldn't do. So anyways, and then the plus ones to this series is autistic Aspie social skills. And now I'm doing this as a plus 1 because it really is a standalone issue. Autistic Aspie social skills really is a standalone issue, but it does tie in so much to employment, and so basically, it's relevant, but it's also a standalone issue. So anyways, so moving on to today, continue on understanding the strengths and weaknesses of autistic Aspies in relationship to employment, so we're starting off this month with sensory processing issues, okay, and this is something that's fairly well known in the autism community that we have these, okay, and the sensory issues of the brain, and yeah, I forgot the cord connecting my laptop to my projector, so I can't show the picture up there, but you have to swipe through several screens in order to find it. Yeah, to get to this picture here. So, anyways, but it shows, all the different, areas of the brain as it deals with sensory processing, and our 5 senses pertain to our external sensory perceptions of the world around us, but nevertheless, there's more to the issue of sensory processing than just our 5 senses, and this is something that I'm still not capable of really explaining. Both Sue and Tara, okay, for those who haven't seen the previous videos, after I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 40, I got involved with a support group led by Sue Galbach, who's a now retired occupational therapist, and Tara Marshall, who's a speech-language pathology assistant, both of whom are autistics as well, and so they understand autism from both a personal and professional point of view. So anyways, when I was, having her critique my material, she's like, well, you're only dealing with the 5 senses. There are all these other issues. She starts going off on this stuff, and some of this other stuff is still beyond my ability to comprehend. So bottom line is, if you want to do a good and proper lesson on this, it's going to take at least 2 to 3 hours, to go into a proper in-depth study on the sensory processing issues, which we are not going to go into I'm just going to touch on certain specific stuff. Okay.
Turn the page.
Yeah. Okay. Because of autism's atypical neurological connectivity, the autistic brain may process this input in an atypical manner, resulting in one hypersensory input. Okay, and that this is well addressed in the autism community. So I don't feel the necessity to, come up with information that you can get from 10,000 other sources. But I just will point out that not all sensory processing issues are hypersensory, okay? And this is one thing that's, I don't want to say that there's an overemphasis on it, on hypersensory input, but there is an under emphasis put on the other types, such as hyposensory input. And a good example of this, my mom and I was discussing with the group before we turned the camera on a incident that happened when I was about 2 years old, with this furnace that in the house. Okay, is I touched this furnace, which was hot. Oh, okay. So okay, yeah, that's right. I lit a fire on a piece of paper using the furnace and held it in my hand, and I did not respond. Okay.
Until I slapped you.
Yeah.
Slapped you out of his hand.
Yeah, and so and so, like you're saying, that's my processing of pain and heat was delayed. Okay, and so here I'm sitting. I'm sitting there, literally burning my hand and not reacting to it. And from what you told, other times when you told this story, I didn't actually start crying until you slapped my hand, and it was more like,
man, you thought that I caused your pain.
Yeah, and so hyposensory, definitely is its own set of issues, and it's important to understand, because because about my first year after I was diagnosed, all this talk was about the hypersensory issues, and it never occurred to me that I had any sensory processing issues, because obviously I don't have acute hearing, and an acute smell, like other members of the group. So I was like, oh well, these are issues that I don't have, and it wasn't. It took me about a year, for me to realize, oh, there's more to it than just the hypersensory issues. Okay, and then and then confused sensory input. Okay, resulting in impaired ability to decipher sensory input. Okay, and this.
Turning the page.
Yeah. And this is a direct quote from Sue Galbuck. Often the confusion comes from fluctuations between hyper and hypo processing, resulting in an avoidance of input hyper or lack of awareness of input hypo, leaving the person confused. And like I said, Sue actually wrote this for me, and shoot, it's after, to 2009, it's 7 years, there's still stuff that, that I still have trouble grasping, that Sue is so much better explaining. But nevertheless, to get, a couple of years ago, I went down to ASU, because I wanted to, to see if I could talk to some of their instructors about something. And anyway, so I get off the light rail and I go down, this main sidewalk that goes right down the middle of ASU, north to south. And as I was walking down that sidewalk, I heard the distinct clicking sound of somebody on a 10-speed bicycle that they stopped pedaling, which meant that they're coasting. Okay, and so I'm looking around. I'm wanting to see where this person is, partly out of courtesy, step out of the way so that way, I don't impair them. And on the other hand, there's also a risk of collision, and so I'm just wanting to locate him, figure out, where he's at. But before I did that, I hear the distinct sound of a skateboarder rumbling over the cracks of the sidewalk. Okay, and now I have two, potential hazards. I am hearing them, but I cannot locate them. Okay, because I have because one of my impairments, sensory processing impairments, is tracking what direction a sound is coming from. And so what happened was I literally had a mild panic attack where it's like the sounds just swirled around, like I was completely surrounded by these sounds, and I had a mild panic attack. And basically what I had to do is I just had to stand still, close my eyes, clench my fists, and wait for the sounds to go away, because I was incapable of responding to that situation because I could not figure out where these two sounds was. Okay, and it has nothing to do with the volume of the sounds. It wasn't how numbers sounds. My mom and I have gone to the Chase Field for D-back games at least 3 or 4 times, and I have no problem. A lot louder, a lot more sources of sound, but I didn't have an issue. I have no problem going into Chase Field, even when it's sold out. Okay, but when it comes, but in that situation where I could not figure out where these sounds were coming from, which were potential hazards, if I ran into one of them, it caused me to have a mild anxiety attack. And so I talked to both Sue and Tara about it, as well as Dr. Woodruff. Yeah, he's a neurologist at the Mayo Clinic who's become involved with our group for personal reasons. And all 3 of them said, there's no one single issue. Basically it was a domino effect. One thing led to another, led to another, led to another, until finally, I had this mild panic attack. Yes, it's very important for you to understand that when we're talking about sensory processing, we're not just talking about hypersensory processing. You need to understand what your sensory processing issues are, and what you need to do about them in order to better manage them. So moving on to the next section, fear, stress, and extreme emotional responses of all human beings. Okay, and I'm kind of...
I was wondering if we could talk more about what we can do with some of these things, backing up to the other thing.
Well, again, as far as what I did in that situation, is just simply close my eyes and start taking deep breaths, and stress management. That is a completely separate topic. Okay, and to go into, because we would need to be discussing how stress how these issues play out in everybody, and what they can do.
That's what you did. You just...
Right. As I stopped, closed my eyes, and took deep breaths. Deep breathing really does work. Okay, it's a scientifically proven fact that deep breathing is a great way of reducing stress. Okay, and so anyways, so fear, stress, and extreme emotional responses to all humans. Originally I got this from Sue as fear responses. And the thing is, that these aren't just responses to fear. It also involves, stress and extreme emotional situations. Okay, there are 3 ways in which humans respond to these issues. One is freeze. Okay, being paralyzed by the fear, the emotion, the stress, and you simply cannot do anything. Okay. Okay. 2 is fight. Okay, it's called the freeze, fight, or flight. Okay, fight, depending on your temperament, may constitute compulsively striking out or going into a defensive posture. Okay, this does not necessarily entail physical altercations, but are probably more often verbal. Okay, and then flight is to basically to run away and or hide. And so that this is, in my opinion, an overly simplistic understanding of how human beings, especially autistics, but how human beings respond to these issues. Okay, especially when we get into this next section talking about atypical personal bubble issues. Now, when I presented this to Sue, she had no idea what I was talking about. Okay, so this is something that I come up with on my own based on paying attention to myself, and how I respond to various situations, as well as listening to other autistics, Aspies, talk about these issues. Okay, and so the hyperbubble issues, autistics who process sensory input in a variety of atypical manners may be naturally inclined to respond to people in close proximity to them in a manner that's atypical. Well, adverse physiological reaction to touch, especially light touch, because it's very stimulating to our nervous system. Again, this is another issue that's well addressed in the autism community, so I don't feel the necessity to go into great detail on this particular one. Okay, here's the one that's particularly Sue had no idea. Well, when I brought it to her attention, is trouble judging the direction that a sound is coming. Actually, she didn't know about that, because that was one of the first issues that I was noticing. That I was having trouble, locating the source of the sound. So I asked her about it. That yes, that's a sensory processing issue. Okay, the distance someone or something is to them,
yeah, and
the amount of time it will take for something to happen. Okay, when I'm crossing the street, okay, without the aid of traffic signals, sometimes by the time I figure out that it's safe for me to cross, it's no longer safe for me to cross, because by the time I figure out, okay, how far is that car from me right now, and how long will it get here versus how long will it take for me to cross the street, by the time I do all that, it's too late. Okay, and so I have to wait for that car to go. Okay, and so that's one of the issues that I have is judging time and distance. Figuring out how long it's going to take me to do a project. Especially like I have this meeting to do today. Okay, well, what kind of chores could I do while waiting, in the meantime? And it's like, okay, well, I don't want to lose track of time. Of course, she came to pick me up, so that wasn't going to happen. But if I'm coming, by myself on public transportation, it's, this fear that I'm going to lose track of time, is such that I won't do anything, and even though in reality I do have time to do certain things, but the fear that I might lose track of time causes me to do nothing. And so, see how hypoactive sensory processing. Okay. These issues may require autistics Aspies to preserve a bigger bubble in order to have enough time to process all the inputs that the brain is receiving before responding. Okay. A good example of this, I went through voc rehab to see about doing job training, and that's addressed in part 2. But anyways, and so I was assigned to one of these restaurants, and I was the food prep guy. Okay, portioning out everything in advance, so that way the cooks, they just, they need mushrooms, just grab mushrooms, throw it on. No measuring on their part. So anyways, the assistant high off of a shelf, okay, and she's Okay, so I'm probably about this close to her, and as I'm bringing it down, I'm consciously aware that if I'm not careful, I could whack her on the head, because she was like about this tall, okay? Or if I could, grabbing something like this, swing this way, my elbow, getting her, right in the nose, so from my standpoint, she was in my bubble, okay? This is not a fear response. I was not afraid of her, okay? I was not afraid that she's going to hurt me. I was, concerned that I might accidentally hurt her. So this is not a fear response, okay? And
she was in your space.
Yeah, and again, it wasn't necessarily for my comfort. The issue wasn't my comfort. The issue was her safety. And so, but from her perspective, she was just fine. She was able to figure out that she was far enough back that I wasn't going to, whack her or give her a forearm. And so so here I am. I'm pulling something down, and I kind of do like this, and doing these kind of odd motions. Just making sure that I don't accidentally, knock the assistant manager on top of the head, which would not impress her. So yeah, that's important to understand. When we're talking about these issues, that there is, an overemphasis on, because when I talk, to Sue and Tard, about this, like, that it's the fight, flight, or freeze, fight, or flight, issue. And no, it's not. It's
fight, freeze.
Yeah.
That's how I was taught it.
Anyways, however, whatever order you want to go. Anyways, there's also instead of freeze, forget. Anyways, we made our point. So, and then B. Needing bigger bubble in order to focus on what that they are thinking about instead of what is happening around them. Okay, and so one time, I was over at my mom's house, and my niece Velvet was there, and I was trying to talk to my mom and tell her something, and Velvet walked in, and basically I readjusted my position, okay, to get her out of my peripheral vision. Again, this was not a fear response. This was, she was breaking my concentration. Her moving into my peripheral view broke my concentration, so I didn't move away from her because I was afraid she was going, it was not a fear response, it was, you're a distraction, and so I need to, and and again, this is another, issue where hypervigilance is the term that they want to try to pin on this. And in certain situations, maybe it is hypervigilance.
Well, also she's very loud. She might have disrupted you.
No, she wasn't talking. No, she just walked in. Yeah, she was listening to what I was saying. Yeah, and so yeah. But anyways, and then autistics may need larger workspaces in order that the items in their peripheral are not exasperated by their executive functioning issues. Okay, basically what that means is my personal items are going to be spread out all over the place because I just I don't know how to explain. I just need more space. I need to spread everything out. And that's one of the reasons why I could probably fit 20 times more stuff in my apartment. But the thing is, it's so excessively cluttered because part of it is I just set stuff down anywhere. But as far as I do need to have a certain workspace clear in order to be able to focus, because otherwise I'll be distracted by all the stuff. So Okay, then hypobubble issues. Okay, some autistics have problems understanding the personal bubble needs of others as well as the overall danger awareness. This can include the inability to understand stranger danger, and this is a serious issue. It may not apply to employment, but it is a very serious issue that's, that a lot of parents have to to deal with. Yeah, and so the increased levels of stress and emotions that autistics Aspies have to manage. Now, okay, when you consider the stress that it comes from our executive functioning impairments that make it difficult for us to do what seems easy to everyone else, as well as our sensory perceptors operating in an atypical manner, it is reasonable to conclude that an autistic Aspies baseline stress level should be higher than the non-autistic Aspie. And so, originally, that this section was about us having hypersensitivity to stress. It's not that we're more sensitive to stress. It's that our stress level is already, our baseline stress level is already at a higher level, and so it takes less stress to put us over the top. Okay, and just like anything else, when you're used to it, you don't realize it. Because I've had people, give me a low massage like, "Oh, you are so tense, you need to relax." I am relaxed. What are you talking about relax? And everybody around me can tell that I seem more tense, even when it's like, "What are you talking about? I'm not tense. I'm perfectly relaxed." And so, so our baseline stress level is higher, and we do get used to it. Just like tolerance of anything, you eventually develop tolerance to it. But at the same time, anyways, made my point. So my goal in making the next two lists was to show the progression that autistics Aspies may take in their path from happy and or content to overload / meltdowns. Okay, and because a lot of parents, they talk about their child just all of a sudden having meltdowns, just completely out of the blue, and it's my contention that it may not be the case in every situation, but I do believe that I know in my own personal case, my own personal experiences, that there is a buildup. Okay, that there are these steps I'm about to list, and so I'm not going to say that every autistic is going to go through every one of these steps, even necessarily in this order. Okay, but anyway, so how increased levels of stress and or emotions can affect the autistic brain. Okay, so we're not in overload, we're just talking about increased stress and emotions. Okay, rapid implementation of rehearsed solutions. Okay, the body's natural response to the stress that such situations cause is to release, and I cannot pronounce that. Cortisol. Okay, which triggers the adrenal gland. Okay, one of the effects that adrenaline has on me is rapid thinking, problem solving. Okay, if I'm confident that I can solve the problem, which is usually a product of proper training and or effective predetermined contingency plans, my ADHD, executive functioning impairments, and perceived social immaturity disappear. Okay?
Amazing.
Now, am I saying that stress can be a positive thing? The right amount of stress. Just like driving your car. You give it a little gas to get it going. If you floor it, bad things can happen.
Or you can save somebody's life, like when I was choking on that turkey. He
Yeah.
saved my life.
I immediately, performed the Heimlich maneuver,
Calmly.
Yeah, I was very matter of fact. We were at Thanksgiving dinner at my brother's, and so she started choking, and everybody's like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I just got up, didn't say a word, got behind her, did the Heimlich, all done. And it really oh, that's proof that you don't have emotion, you don't blah blah. Hey, that's what any firefighter has to do. Okay, professional first responders have to have complete control of their emotions in that situation. And so in that situation, having taken first aid CPR, I was very confident in my training. I went up and I did. Actually, you're the second person that I did the Heimlich on. The first was a 3-year-old little girl. When I was volunteering, helping out the Somali refugee family, and of course they didn't have any concept of the Heimlich. She started choking on something, and so I judged by her size, to actually use 3 fingers, and just did the upper thrust. I think did about 2 or 3, and it came right out. And I was completely calm, matter of fact, and so if I am properly trained, you would think that I'm a professional, because dealing with those particular situations. Okay.
And your cousin too. He has a cousin who's Aspies, and it's taken him many years to become a nurse, but he's in charge of the emergency room, and he has had when he was younger meltdowns and everything. But he's in charge of the ER room in Powell, Wyoming at night.
Okay. Then the next level is paralysis by analysis. The first time that I said this term at our Aspie group, half the group started chuckling, because they knew exactly what I was talking about as soon as I said it. I didn't even need to elaborate that when autistics Aspies get caught in a spin cycle of excessive analyzation, resulting in them overthinking a situation.
Oh yes.
Okay, and going back to what happened at ASU, I'm thinking that this is probably the best explanation of what happened. Is fear got just supercharged this aspect of me, and my brain just spun out of control, and so that is my best explanation of what happened at ASU that day. And so and then 3 is something that I just added in the last couple of weeks, and so this is the first time I'm going to attempt to even put this to words. Okay, obsessive and or compulsive focus on the final solution. And keep in mind, I think that the professionals have obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to slapping obsessive compulsive disorder on everything the autistics do, but at the same time, it's not to say that it isn't without merits. Okay. Okay. A. This can cause me to not be able to see and or focus on the individual steps to solve a problem, aka executive functioning collapse. Okay. And then B, in situations in which I struggle to figure out the solution, my focus turns to what I can do to stop the stress with little or no regard for whether or not it will solve the problem. And a lot of times, sometimes life just starts piling on one thing after another, and you can't, and you don't have time to solve problems A, B, and C before problem D hits you, and after a while, I just want all the stress to go away, okay, and basically call a timeout on life, and so, and human beings, that this isn't unique to autistics, but again, because of our heightened stress level, we're probably going to be having this problem on a more frequent basis than a neurotypical, and so
That can affect you.
right, so, and then the last three ways autistics Aspies are affected by stress mimics the signs of aging, fatigue, etc. Okay, decrease of what may already be subpar motor coordination, decrease of already subpar executive functioning, and extreme reliance on procedures, rigid protocols, and rehearsed solutions. Now, and so, one of the things, Dr. Woodruff, he's a neurologist, and he specializes in geriatric neurology. And so, when he started reading the material that neurologists had written on autism, he was seeing these correlations between what we deal with and what people with dementia deal with, and particularly when it comes to executive functioning issues. And so, it's that this is one of the things, before you start diagnosing somebody in their 40s, 50s, so on and so forth with autism, keep in mind there are other reasons for these issues. Several years ago, my church went out to lunch to this restaurant that that we often went to, and on this particular day, they absolutely got slammed, okay? And so this poor waitress was running around like a chicken with her head cut off, okay? Not only did she have to come back to our table twice to bring us things that she had forgotten the first time, but she also could not remember where she set down the pitcher of tea. And as soon as she said that, it's like, we turned her into an autistic. Because that is one of our issues, is we set something down, and where did we set it down? And so, yeah, you put anybody under enough stress and they're going to start acting like us, And talking about my niece Velvet, okay, at one time, okay, she had a full-time job working for a major department store. She just started a part-time job working at a convenience store, okay. She was also a student, okay, full-time student, and if that's not enough, she's also in the Arizona National Guard, an E5, which means that even when she isn't on duty, she's responsible for keeping track of her units. That way, if there's an emergency call-up, she could go and call them up and say, hey, we need a report right away, okay? And all of a sudden, she started becoming really absent-minded. And so I joked with her that, that she's turned into an autistic, and so, but of course she's not, ever since, she, reduced her work level down to a reasonable amount, she's back to being the way she was, but yeah, if you put the screws to somebody enough, they'll have these problems, A couple of weeks ago, I went, I needed to make some copies over at Staples, and so I go over there, and right now we have, Arizona is bloody hot right now. Okay, that's what happens every summer, is it gets bloody hot. Okay, so I go into Staples, and I make my copies, and I'm giving and I happen to have the exact amount of money, and so one of the things I handed the cashier a nickel, thinking there was a quarter. Okay, yeah, that's a common mistake, but it just happened to happen on a day that it was 100 degrees out. Okay, I go across the street to a Subway. Okay, and so normally I walk in there and I'll say, I want a foot-long cold cut combo or a foot-long meatball on wheat American cheese, please. Okay, rolls off off my tongue. Okay, what type of bread? Wheat. It's like 6 inches or foot long. Yes. Okay, and it's like, yeah, my brain just was not functioning.
Dehydration.
You know, and so on another occasion, again, this was at Culver's. Okay, I order my food, and so I'm going to pay for it, by card, and so I hand her my card. She says, with a bright smile, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't accept that." And I look at it, it's my bus pass. Now, of course, it could have happened on any day, but when it's like 110 out, could that have contributed to it? Oh yeah. And
He doesn't drink enough water. How much water has he drank this hour he's been talking? None.
No, I'm drinking a little, So, anyways, so when we're talking about these about these particular issues, okay, we have them, but we can also do them to ourselves. Okay, we can make these issues worse, by not taking care of ourselves. Right, Mom? You're not going to debate me on that.
Oh no.
Oh no. So then moving on, how overloads of stress and emotions can affect the autistic brain. Now, so the previous one, as far as the, anyways, that's talking about, when we're starting to get to the overload. Okay, when we actually reach overload, the next step for me is what's called shutdowns. Okay, when an autistic loses their ability to exhibit any functionality, including the loss of the ability of self-expression. And this is something, years ago, I was volunteering at an Arabic Baptist church, and I was the general utility volunteer that would do anything, even if I wasn't good at it, because somebody needed to do it. Okay, and basically, including deal with their electronics, which I'm terrible at electronics, but nevertheless, I would just go in there and get so stressed out, that there were times that, Pastor Jamal would ask me, what's going on? What are you having problems with? And I would just stand there completely silent because I couldn't even explain what was going on. By that time, my brain was just spinning so badly out of control that I couldn't even explain myself. And I find, a lot of times, I'll have these situations where people will say something that I'm simply not prepared, to respond to, and again, I will lose any ability for self-expression. Doesn't mean that in that situation I'm necessarily on the brink of a meltdown, but nevertheless, basically this can happen, and then and this may be the final warning that the autistic Aspie is on the path to a meltdown. And so one of the things that I'm proposing, to these parents is that and then the next step is the meltdown. Okay, what I'm suggesting is that maybe, if you can learn to recognize, that even if it's not in every situation, there may be many situations where there is the escalation. Okay, recognize, that the escalation is occurring and do something about it, especially when you're talking about on jobs. Okay, we need to be able to recognize this ourselves. Okay, and years ago when I was in high school, I had this classmate, knowing what I know now, he was probably a lower functioning autistic. He might barely qualify as an Aspie, but he was definitely, he definitely had below average intelligence. Okay, anyways, one day, we're in health class, and the teacher gave us a book assignments, and so we're all busy doing our book, and the teacher's desk is over in the back of the room, and the door's over here, and as we're doing our work, all of a sudden we hear the teacher say, "Where are you going?" Okay, and of course everybody looks up to see what's going on, and this guy said, he was getting out of his his seat, and he was straining to get out of his seat, say, I need to go to the nurse. And the teacher's like, why? He says, I'm about to have a seizure. Okay? And so of course the teacher already, was informed by his mom. All the teachers were already informed about these issues, so the teacher knew what to do, got him to lay down, so on and so forth, and stayed with him until the seizure was over. But anyways, but what this points out is, even though that this young man, his brain was on the brink of going completely haywire, he still possessed the capacity to implement an emergency protocol in order to protect himself. Okay, now his understanding was incomplete. Go to mom or go to the nurse. He didn't know that all the teachers were were informed about his situation, had the training to deal with it. But nevertheless, the point is, even though he was in the brink of a grand mal seizure, the clinical term is a generalized clonic tonic. Okay, the clonic stage is the initial stage where the initial onset, where the patient is starting to feel sick, or starting to feel something in their body that's letting them that once they've had it enough times, they know what it is. An aura, okay, and so that they can be taught what to do as soon as they feel that aura. And so what I'm talking about is what autistics need to do is learn as soon as you feel the stress level elevating. Don't wait till level 4. As soon as you recognize level 1, okay, or level 2, as soon as you recognize that your stress level has elevated, that is when you need to take the corrective procedure. Not when you're on the brink of a meltdown. You need to take the corrective procedures as soon as you realize that your stress is elevated. And again, talking about stress management, and particularly in the job setting, okay, that's going to vary from job to job. Some of it might be finding the job that isn't going to put you in so much stress, finding a perfect job that isn't as stressful, or you just may have to learn specific techniques, such as taking deep breaths, which works wonders, for me. Yeah, we're plenty ahead of schedule. I can go on little side things here. When I first started off working with refugees, back in '99, we, and if you have questions or comments, go ahead and express them. So, anyways, I was watching the children while the adults learned English. Okay, and so initially we had all Vietnamese students. We had Vietnamese and Somali students, but the Somalis would not leave their children in somebody else's care. That is just completely contrary to their culture. That's something that they have to get used to, especially if they have to go to work and they have no choice. But anyways, so basically, I had like maybe 6 or 8 Vietnamese kids, and these were all preschool age kids, and they were typical preschool age kids who didn't understand much English, and so what was happening is I was intervening, tell them to stop this, and my stress level was getting elevated, okay, because I couldn't, do the technically correct thing, which is redirect them, explain to them, all this, good teacher stuff. I couldn't do it because they couldn't understand enough English. They understood no, they understood stop. Okay, that's okay, and that's really all I could do. I affectionately refer to it as riot control. And so, anyways, and I love doing it, but that's what it was. It was riot control. So, anyways, one night, there was these 2-year-olds, boy and a girl, sitting at the coloring table, and the girl, pulls out a crayon. Then all of a sudden, the boy decides he wants that very crayon, and he, reaches to grab it out of her hand. And so I go over there and I said, stop, and that's and basically, I didn't, lay a hand, I found, that this is actually a very effective means of stopping a child. And by the way, this is also a sign language for stop too, in case you want to learn sign language. But anyways, so I do this, okay, and this Vietnamese boy goes, okay, and I look and it's like, he's imitating me. And it's like, yeah, and so I was trying to figure out, okay, is he mocking me? No. He stopped doing what I told him to stop doing, and so I literally walked away because I had no way of responding. But it dawned on me, how much I've been using that these children, yeah, you turn your back on the one that that's stressing you out so they don't see it, but then the student over there has a front row seat to what you're doing, and so so this boy picked up on my idiosyncrasy, my stress management idiosyncrasy, and it's like, okay, and that's when I became a big believer in taking a deep breath. It really does work. Anyway, so anyways, and then and so number two, meltdowns, when autistics lose it and start exhibiting what is often viewed as behavioral issues. This reaction is so synonymous with autism Asperger's that it is the one and only autistic Aspie response to stress and or heightened emotions that society at large recognizes, okay? And and that this is another problem. Yes, meltdowns are very important to understand, but it's also important to understand that that's not the only response. And by understanding that, like I said, you might be able to head off some of these meltdowns by recognizing that the child is on that path, or the autistic Aspie is on that path, and take corrective measures. And when they become old enough to learn to implement these measures on their own, they'll be able to do it. And so just like a circuit, just like as a circuit breaker. Actually, this should have been up with shutdowns. Okay. Okay. Just as circuit breakers are built-in countermeasures to electrical fires, it is my firm convictions that shutdowns are the mind's natural preemptive countermeasure to meltdowns. Okay, I truly believe this, and so if this is true of all autistics and Aspies, then it provides them and or their loved ones with the ability to recognize when a meltdown is imminent, so corrective measures can be taken. Okay, I'm being kind of redundant. Now, moving on to the types of jobs which undiagnosed autistics Aspies have been successful at. Okay, now this is, like I mentioned in part one, okay, there's so much talk about all, are you wanting some? Oh, were you raising your hand?
No.
Oh, okay. There's so much emphasis on all the things that we struggle with. There's no discussion about the fact that there are some autistics who have achieved vocational success without even having an autism Aspie diagnosis. Okay, so what did they do in order to to succeed? Okay, so professional and volunteer jobs that I had pre-diagnosis success with. Okay, and I'm including volunteer jobs as well, for reasons previously stated. Okay, one, working with children with disabilities. Okay, my little sister Kelly has Down syndrome, and so that obviously was a volunteer position. Wyoming Special Olympics, I volunteered at, I believe, 3 events. When my sister was doing that. Again, I was undiagnosed at this time. But nevertheless, my little sister has Down syndrome, and so I volunteered about 3 events. was bowling, and then that their when their track meets, Special Olympic track meets, and then when we horseback riding, so we brought a bunch of horses down from Farson, and helped them ride horses. So, anyways, then Parkway Elementary, okay, volunteered an hour and a half per day during the last hour and a half, but the last year and a half of high school, and back before what's referred to as Article 9 of the Arizona Constitution, which basically did a lot of things, but one of the things that it did was it desegregated, people with disabilities from the typical population, okay, and so and before that, basically Parkway Elementary was the school that all the elementary age students in Mesa Public Schools was bused to, for their education, and it was right next door to Mesa High, where I graduated from high school, and so so they had a program where people could volunteer an hour a day in exchange for a grade in order to work with these children, and so so I did that for a year and a half. Okay, then as a caregiver, which I'm actually going to address later on. Okay, refugee community, as I mentioned earlier, an Ethiopian boy who was born with cerebral palsy. I helped out that family. Basically, they were completely confused by the system, that they were supposed to be relying on. Basically, that they took the best translator available to them in doctor's hours, which was somebody who knew very little English to begin with, to try to translate Dr. Lingual. Okay, yeah, it was bad. They were under the misimpression that their child's test results were lost and that nothing was being done to help their child. And so I looked at the paperwork and it's like, okay, actually, okay, right here it says, developmentally delayed, okay, and then it says here that he has an appointment, 3 months down the line, but for a specialist. So anyways, and so yeah, and so I got their permission to speak to the receptionist at the doctor's office on their behalf, and basically what it was that there was that it's the blood work, nothing remarkable came up in the blood work, and so they simply don't call patients back if there's nothing really to report, and so they completely misinterpreted this, and so the first thing the biggest thing that I did was basically be a ray of sunshine into their life, because they were really depressed, and really confused, and just helped them understand what was happening and that everything was going to be okay. They just need to be patient. The system was moving, it's just the system does not move very fast, right?
Absolutely.
So, yes. America 101. The system does move, but it don't move fast. So, anyways, then secondly, a Sudanese girl who was probably a lower functioning autistic. Again, this was before I was diagnosed. I didn't know anything about autism, but knowing what I do now, okay, basically she was a lower functioning autistic. Could you maneuver the camera so that way people can see what I'm doing? Basically, what I did...
One moment, buddy.
So, yeah. Well, yeah, so move it over here to me. Okay. Basically, what I did was just treated the girl like she was just another, girl, and actually, one of the little girls I worked with at Parkway, she exhibited the exact same behavior, so I understood what was going on with the hair pulling. She was just trying to get attention. She didn't have the motor skills, for gentle touch. You know, she was just trying to get affection. And so basically what I did, and this is what at Word of Grace Church, Lisa Rattan, you know, taught us, you know, how to approach children in a way, you know, that isn't stressful for them, and basically sit in an open posture like this, okay, and let them come to you. And she would come to me because she figured out, she could tell that I was a warm and friendly person, and she would come and she would sit on my lap, and I would give her a big hug. That's every time, you know, she would see me, I would go down this position, and she would come immediately sit on my right leg, yeah, you know, to get her big bear hug. And so you know, and so, you know, and yeah, and so a lot of yeah, you know, one of the biggest grievances that the autistic self-advocacy community has, you know, especially me, is that we're not treated like we're human beings. Just treat us like we're human. So wrapped up in all these things that you're afraid of. You're afraid we're going to have a meltdown. You're afraid of this. You're afraid of that. You know, and what winds up happening is we wind up being ostracized. You know, by people. You know, they're well-meaning, that there's, you know, that they're simply trying to avoid, you know, doing something wrong, but their way of not doing something wrong constitutes of us being ostracized, them ostracizing us, and so, you know, that's one of the things, you know, in talking about, you know, how this affects jobs, trying to get jobs, well, we're going to be going over the GEM Jobs Accommodations Network pamphlet on autism next month, and basically, you know, everything in there is going to scare the average employer into being reluctant to hire us. Okay, and so you know, that this is a major issue, which I'm going to go into a lot more detail next month. You know, and so okay, and then children's ministry for various churches, mostly volunteer, but sometimes paid. I was a puppeteer and ventriloquist for a short time. I haven't done that since the turn of the century, but I have done it, and probably a little bit rusty, but anyways, writer of skits and plays, both puppet and drama, some of which were made to order to illustrate the main lesson of the requesting teacher. Again, another volunteer position. Okay, and so you know, and you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, a lot of times our most successful, you know, projects are as volunteers, because we're allowed to try things we ordinarily wouldn't be given the opportunity to do.
And elaborate. You worked several years now.
I'll get to that. Okay, that's
As a volunteer.
yes, that's a volunteer. That's further down the list. Okay. Okay, so then other things. Okay, pizza delivery driver. Okay, this is one that I had a lot of these jobs I had very limited success with. And what limited my success as a pizza delivery driver is the fact they killed my car. You know, as my mom will tell you, I'm a human GPS. Okay, I have no problem, you know, finding addresses. Okay. And in driving positions, you know, especially, you know, if your autism Asperger's is similar to mine, where, you know, I just well, one of the things I like looking at is maps, and so you absorb these maps, including street maps, and so yeah, a lot of autistics, you know, can be good drivers, you know. You know, but if you're going to be, you know, if you're supplying your own vehicle, it could kill your vehicle. So that's, you know, something that you got to take into consideration. Contract security officer, and I'm actually listing this as success being very limited. I will be addressing this later on. Okay, taxi driver, again, success was very limited. Okay, very limited. and basically, well, part of it's twofold. One, there are way too many cabs on the streets of Phoenix, okay? Basically, what these the way these cab companies make money is by leasing out cabs to drivers,
Yes.
okay? They don't care if the driver's making money. They care about putting as many cabs on the road. So basically what you'll have is you'll have a couple weeks where you're making a lot of money, but by that time they hire on new drivers, and then there's just too many cabs on the road until all those drivers quit, or half those drivers quit because they're not making enough money, and then you go back to making a lot of money for a couple weeks. And so it's one of these yo-yos, and so it's a tough gig in Phoenix. Well, in Brooklyn, I don't care about Brooklyn. This isn't Brooklyn, this is Phoenix, and this is how things work in Phoenix. They may do things differently in Brooklyn.
The cab companies are all gone out of business anyway, Ubers.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
Still in them.
So, I was curious about that,
Me too.
but one of the things, talking about what I did to myself, okay, the last time I drove cab was during my diagnostic period, okay? My mom had identified me as an autistic, having gone to a in-service. She's a now retired LPN, and so she, so she went to this in-service in which she learns about autism, Asperger's. She's like, "That's my son," and so this taxi job was one of the was my last attempt to be employed, and basically my biggest strength became a detriment because, okay, yes, like I said, I memorized the entire the major streets, but of course when you go into the residential neighborhoods, you got to take time to actually map out your course. Well, the thing is, I wasn't in that routine of stopping myself, and this is the biggest thing that I had to learn, and I still have to learn, is talking about how stress creates hyperactive thinking, okay, and a constant sense of urgency, okay, and this idea that I don't have time to stop for lunch. I don't have time to stop to look at this map. And so what I was literally doing, okay, is okay, I've got my call, and I know the general direction I need to go, and so I get going. Okay, I come to a red light. Okay, I flip to my map book, to see what map page I need to turn to. I turn to that. By that time, light turns green, so I go to the next light till I get another red light. Okay, and so now I got a red light. Okay, so now I'm trying to pinpoint on my map, and so basically what I was doing is I was never giving my brain the time to rest. Okay, and this is also something that really undermined me as well at First Arabic Baptist is not allowing yourself, that this sense of urgency that I can't stop to take breath. You have to stop. If you don't, you're eventually going to crash your brain.
Yeah,
It's that simple. You have to make yourself stop.
that's anybody.
Right, but for me, because I have these executive functioning issues, okay, it creates in me a sense of urgency, okay, that tells me that I can't, stop, okay, and so that's reason why it probably affects me more is because of this mindset that I have to overcome, okay, and if I was to try, and I actually thought about Uber, but I don't have my own car.
Yeah, I've thought about it too, my car's not
I
good.
thought about it
Has to
myself.
be a good,
Yeah.
reliable car with AC that works.
Yeah.
They started this new leasing program, but it's not in Arizona yet.
Yeah.
So you can like lease a car from like a car.
Really?
And pay
Yeah.
through Uber. So it's kind of like a taxi cab, but they don't rip you off as much.
So-
Wow.
Those
So-
charges aren't as bad.
But
That
Eh,
sounds.
all in all, I believe it's possible for somebody to be a successful cab driver, if you can overcome the sense of urgency that tells you, oh, I can't stop, I gotta go, 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 and never let yourself rest. Although I'm not sure if it's possible in Phoenix because of too many bloody cabs out. But the last time I drove was 2009. So I don't know the state of the cab companies. And this was before Uber and all these other rideshare companies. So I don't know what the cab industry is like today. But in 2009, it was cutthroat, dog eat dog, and so that's the reason why half the people that tried to drive cab, gave up after 2 weeks. Anyways.
Amazon started a delivery service that you can use your own car now too.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Deliver packages from Amazon to your car.
Oh.
I used to work for FedEx before I was a teacher. It's like the same thing. Eventually, you usually burn out.
Mm-hmm.
What about teaching? What?
It's pretty good. I'm still teaching. I still like work at school right now. I'm trying to get into grad school.
So what do you teach?
I'm actually an aide for a child on the spectrum. Before that, I was in a resource room as a teacher. So I've had several jobs at the school.
That's
It's really good at administration there. So like it's public schools, they cut jobs. Like so, 2 of the jobs I had there have actually gotten cut. They always found another job for me to fill in.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
that's Arizona.
Yeah.
Not going to go. So, did you get that job before or after diagnosis?
After.
After, and have you disclosed your autism to them?
Only to the principal.
Okay.
And certain people I'm close to at the school.
Good.
Me, my psychologist, it's like, I talked to him about that, and he's like, it's not their, like,
Business. It's
business
none
to
of their
know, really.
business.
And it's like, it's kind of upsetting in some regards to not, because like, have you ever heard about, or you ever read Neurotribes?
No.
Yes, it's a book. And
So it's like kind of proposing that it's like that you shouldn't, like, eventually society doesn't judge someone for being gay. They shouldn't judge you for being autistic.
well,
But society's not going to get to that point anytime soon. So
I agree with that particular point, but I have a lot of issues that Neurotribes make a lot as very serious allegations against very specific people. And
yeah, he got a little bit
Yeah.
personal with some people.
Yeah, and some of those allegations, I'm 99.9% sure are slanderous. Particularly to allegations about Dr. Connor, who was the one that gave the, I haven't read it, but people have told me about these different excerpts from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm not going to go into that, but and we'll address that in a little. Okay, that's actually
That's great that you have a job.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to be addressing that at the end of this presentation. So, anyways, so let's temp agencies again. Success is very limited, well, temp agencies are temp agencies, you're not going to get a six-figure job working for a temp agency, especially if you're talking day labor, and so, I've done, temp agencies and that they're okay, but I may have actually
I've had
been.
success with them.
What's, yeah.
I've had success with them. That's how
Yeah.
I got the last job that I had for 7
Yeah.
years. It was through a temp
That
agency.
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah, but most of the stuff that the temp agencies do have to do with menial labor. And as I discussed last month, for me particular, it may not apply to all autistics, but for me, my motor coordination skills, I don't work fast enough, in order, to work to work menial labor, and so, anyways, bread truck assistant. That was one that it was limited success only because the driver that I was assisting moved out of state, okay? And the driver that replaced him that didn't feel the need to have an assistant. But no, it was okay. Basically, we were the truck that went around to all the bread stores, that sell the day-old bread, 2-day-old bread, however old that bread is, and restock their supplies, and so it was okay. I had the driver, he and I were, we got along really well, and everything, and so theoretically, if there were more if there were more jobs like that out there, it wouldn't be a bad idea. But the thing is, most truck drivers don't need an assistant, so there just isn't enough demand.
Yeah.
Okay. English teacher, volunteer. Okay.
Non-paying volunteer.
Refugee caseworker volunteer. Again, talking. And that starts was a result of me being a volunteer English teacher, working with the refugees and just being willing to help them out, with personal matters, reading their mail, running around to appointments, stuff like that, and understanding the system. And what wound up developing there is I became an ally to the sponsoring agencies. I would not become a part of the sponsoring agencies because basically the stress level that they're under is just too, basically that it's assembly line, that they have to take an assembly line mentality to process everybody through, that they really don't have time to really to really help them. So basically the refugees, they don't stop going there because they're all situated. That they stop going there because they find alternative sources of help from people who actually have time to actually give them the help. And again, that's not a criticism of the caseworkers themselves. They're doing the best that they can. It's just, that they're just overwhelmed, and so, so the ideal job for me would be working for maybe a church or as a consultant, to advise people, okay, you want to work with refugees, okay, here is, that here are the issues that I know about because I became their friend, I became their brother, okay, they told me everything, okay, the caseworkers, that they try to tell them things, but the caseworker doesn't really have time to listen to everything, okay, I gave them all the time they needed to explain what's going on, and so yes, I have a better understanding, at least as of because I haven't done it since my diagnosis.
Yeah.
It's so yeah, I am out of touch with how the system is now, but I doubt that it's gotten much better, especially with the recession. I assume it's gotten worse. But anyways. Refugee consultant volunteer, okay, now, I know Autistics, Aspies who have had some, okay, so these are other, so these are other jobs that other Autistics have, that they've been successful at prior to them getting a diagnosis, okay? Occupational therapist, okay, that was speech, Sue Gulliver, okay, she did not get diagnosed until she was 50, okay? School teacher, well, we have over in the Tempe.
I'd say, in general though, I'd say being a general ed school teacher is like terrible for...
Well, I'm talking specifically...
There's no way I could teach a 30
yeah, well, okay, over in the East Valley group, we have a full-fledged school teacher.
Yeah, it's just, you have to be very, very organized, and you have to have any type of autistic person.
Right. Well,
Very high functioning.
Not as even high functioning, not overwhelmed by
right.
for like century-wise, you'd have to be
Like
pretty.
kids throwing erasers at
Well,
you.
It's like century-ish, because
Yeah.
it's just a lot of stuff coming in
Yeah.
at you all day long.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
by the end of it, you'd be pretty burned out. Like if I
Yeah.
was a school teacher, I'd have to take like a 2 or 3.
Yeah. Well, as far as
Oh,
okay, in my experience as a as a Sunday school teacher, the only place I really had success at was Word of Grace Church, because they made sure that there was a second teacher, there was an assistant teacher, at least one in every classroom. That they had a very good student-teacher ratio that they maintained.
Yeah.
Okay, which public schools don't do.
Yeah. Public schools.
Okay, and so anyways, but anyways, this school teacher, before she did that, she was an Air Force aircraft mechanic. Okay, she spent 16 years in the Air Force and used her GI Bill to go back to school, become a school teacher, and so again, this is all pre-diagnosis. She had this success without knowing she was autistic. Okay, and so okay. Accountant for a nonprofit organization, and this is actually the individual in question was diagnosed with childhood schizophrenia, which, if you understand, how the autism diagnosis has gone through, that's basically what everybody, all autistics, what were diagnosed with childhood schizophrenia. Yeah, is childhood schizophrenia even a diagnosis anymore?
No, it isn't.
So basically.
good.
Yeah, so
That's horrible.
yeah, and so yeah, we're not going to to get into that kind of detail. So technically, he wasn't technically diagnosed with autism Asperger's, but he was diagnosed with the precursor to autism Asperger's, which was childhood schizophrenia. Okay, and so
I'm glad no one
Yeah.
talked to me.
so anyways. And this same individual has also worked as a tax preparer, which is a seasonal job, obviously, for the most part. Okay, we have another member of the East Valley group who's a route driver who sets up store displays. Okay, and actually, I can't say with absolute certainty whether or not he was diagnosed before or after getting that job. So I can't actually say that he belongs on this list. He might belong on the next list. Medical insurance claims adjuster. Okay. Computers. Half of all autistics are computer geniuses. I'm part of the other half. Yeah, so computers, if they have the aptitude. Engineering, Temple Grandin. She is just absolutely amazing. Okay. So the common denominators amongst all these jobs, okay, they engage our brains, okay. They're not mindless tasks, doing menial labor, okay. We have to actually think about what we're doing, all right. Absolute protocols that employees are properly trained in, in the military, absolute, protocols. As teachers, you're given all this training, in God curriculum, so on and so forth. And then absolute chain of command, okay, which is a lot of times, a lot of these places, well, basically, who's actually in charge. A lot of times, somebody will act like they're the boss when in fact they're not the boss. Okay, with a lot of these menial companies, that does not happen in the military. That does not, in schools, the teacher's the boss, the principal is the boss of the bosses, and absolute chain of command. Okay, and autonomy. Okay, this does not mean solitary confinement. Okay. But that we need to not be micromanaged, especially by absentee micromanaging workaholics, which I addressed last month. Okay, that's the one of the biggest things is people, autistics do better working alone. No, autistics go into ADHD mode when we're all by ourselves. Okay, well, I won't say that's true about all autistics, but I'll tell you that's definitely true about me. Okay, I can't say that's a fact for all autistics, but if you have me working alone, I'm going full board ADHD on you. Okay, so yeah. No, well, when I'm talking about autonomy, okay, Sue Golubuck, she assess, her clients. She comes up with the curriculum. Nobody's looking over her shoulder, and she does what needs to be done. No teachers, okay? The principal isn't constantly walking in and telling the teacher how to do her job. The teacher teaches, okay? And so they're not isolated from society, that they're just given enough autonomy to where they can do things the way that works for them. Okay, so now jobs that I know that autistics, Aspies have had success at since being diagnosed, okay, so that's where that route driver might fit in. I can't say for sure, but speech language pathologist, Tara Marshall, she was actually recommended to pursue that route by Sue. Okay, department store stalker, okay, very limited success, okay, and this is our friend Sam, who wasn't able to be here, and I actually asked him, whether or not, whether or not he would, what his assessment is, and basically, typically somebody gets hired on at these department stores that, they'll usually start out as a stalker, and eventually they'll be moved onto the floor, which can eventually lead to promotions, okay? He continues to be a stalker. He has been, they do not move him onto the floor, and they do know he's autistic, okay? He has needed to self-advocate. He does have some gastrointestinal issues, that does come into play sometimes at work. And so, so basically, that so that basically, he keeps, every people that they've been hired on after him get moved to the floor while he's still stuck in the stock room, as a stalker, which means that he's never going to, climb any kind of a ladder. Yes, yeah, I see the clock there. Okay. Autistic Aspie Youth Mentors, volunteer. Sam, that's what he does, and, well, Aaron's not autistic, but another, David Brown is also helping you with AZ Assist.
Most of those people, supervisors, are on the autism spectrum.
Really?
I think that
Now,
I'm
and
one
what
of
is
the
that
few that
again?
isn't diagnosed.
What is it again that you do?
AZ Assist, they're supervisors mentoring autistic youth.
Yeah, well, AZ Assist itself is actually started as a parent support group, okay, and a youth group was set up, basically, to watch the children while watch the youth while the parents meet, and basically Sam and company have taken it above and beyond that, and are full-fledged mentors in helping them.
That's
Okay.
fantastic.
And so, and then librarians, okay, and again, I list this as very limited success, mostly volunteer, but one or two have obtained part-time employment. For it to be classified as a fully successful job, okay, somebody needs to be hired on as a full-time librarian.
I don't think they hire the librarians very often. It's
I
probably
don't
hard.
either.
Well,
It's probably a hard thing to get into.
well, they do have some, some professional librarians, because nobody can volunteer 40 hours a week.
Yeah, but I think they have to wait for someone to retire before they actually hire them.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as these individuals, that that they've been at this for a long time. So basically, the jury's still out on whether or not because I did this at a public school, okay, and basically what I want to do is what you're doing, well, what I did at Parkway is to work with children with disabilities. Okay, and I made it very clear to them that that's what I wanted to do from the get-go, but I understood that they first would want to observe me before putting in the classroom. That makes perfect sense, but it became very clear to me that they were treating it more like a day program that they were providing me with, than actually giving me the opportunity to, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that, you know, I'll actually get into more detail about that next month, you know, but you know, so as far as, you know, are these librarians, you know, because they were set up through SARC, Southwest Autism Research and Resource Center, okay, and so are they being treated like it's a day program, like they're recipients of a day program, or are they actually viewing these autistics as people who can become full-time employees just like anybody else? That's a question I cannot answer. Okay, but I have reasons to be concerned based on my own experience that, you know, I was definitely treated like I was there for a, you know, that they were providing me with a day program rather than a path to employment. And so, autistic advocates, consultants, mostly professionals, but also some volunteers. Success has been very limited because, quite frankly, people won't listen to us. You know, even Sue and Tara. Okay, yes, I have a high school diploma, 1.9 GPA, fine. Blow me up. Sue Gallbach has a master's degree in occupational therapist. Do not blow her off. You blow her off, you're showing absolute contempt for the autistic community in general. Okay, and so, you know, talking, you know, to Sue and Tara, I don't want to put words into their mouths, you know, particular Sue, because she's very diplomatic how she states things, but when it comes right down to it, they are not satisfied with you know, with how that how their peers view them in terms of their ability to give input and to question what, you know, the belief system of their peers. Okay, again, I definitely want to be careful because Sue is very diplomatic when she expresses this, and so I don't want to make it sound like Sue is saying things that she isn't saying, you know, but basically.
She doesn't believe that she's being treated contemptibly.
Well, she doesn't.
She does.
Well,
She thinks that.
Well, okay, again, okay, I will say that Tara has used the term that she's not treated as an equal.
Right.
Okay.
She feels like it's contemptible. But no.
Well, you know, because she has an associate's degree in speech language pathology, okay, and she believes that she is not treated as an equal to other people with her same credentials.
Right.
Okay, and so anyways,
She's not.
and so.
Social. Every job's.
It's social.
Yeah.
Well-
There's a lot of social, like in the elementary school that I work at, but at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to politics, even in
Yeah.
elementary school.
Absolutely.
And autistic people are terrible at navigating political, like, environment.
Well,
You're right.
well,
And then,
in
in order
terms-
that to change, something legal probably has to change. Because a lot of the problem is barrier to entry. I hate job interviews, and I think
well,
I get social anxiety, and I end up not being able to say anything at all. I barely
Right.
can speak during them.
so, well, in Tara's
He
case,
speaks too much.
well, in Tara's case, that's a possibility. In Sue's case, no, absolutely not. Okay, she is very well trained. She is
Very well.
extremely diplomatic. She is more diplomatic. She can school most neurotypicals in conflict resolution,
She's
in
amazing.
dealing with conflicts in a diplomatic manner. Okay, so no, that it is not all about social skills. Okay.
Well, her social skills,
Yeah.
actually, I know Sue,
Yeah.
and her social skills are good.
Yeah.
She has good social skills. She can do the politically correct
Yeah.
things you need to do to converse with somebody politically. She's just well-spoken. And
Most
like
of
he
the time
said,
with
he
me,
said
it's
it.
not, well, it's me not being well spoken, I always do, or
Diplomat.
I'm pretty diplomatic, it's that I don't realize when people are doing things to slight me behind my back.
Oh.
A lot of times
You
that is
brought
the
up
case.
something about that. Yeah, you
Well,
It's
well,
not recognizing when people are even saying things in front of you that are disparaging towards you until like 3 or 5 hours later, you're like, oh shit, they're just like basically,
Really?
yeah, or
Yeah.
like, and then I'll figure it out, and then like at the school I'm at, I don't really have to worry about, because there are people who said that, because I'm pretty quiet, I don't say much, and like other people do shitty jobs and try to blame it on me at some points.
Mhm.
And they'll be like, oh, it's like that guy. But they don't know that I'm pretty close to my principal, and then she'll
Right.
just like, she'll talk to me about it, or I'll go to her, she's like, don't worry about it, I know it's not
Yeah.
you, they're an idiot.
yeah, it's,
Scapegoat, you make
Yeah.
a good scapegoat.
yeah. Well,
Who do you bounce, who do you bounce the ideas, how do you come to realize that somebody is hurting you?
Most of the time I do it myself, I have a constant conversation going on in my head all day, basically,
Okay.
so I'm bouncing up different things, going like,
yeah.
that's how my
Well,
psychologist.
Is there
says that.
somebody
And
that
then
you
I'll
bounce?
ask my sister or my mom or something
Yeah.
like, if you think they were doing, like, especially if my sister lives in California, also works at a school,
Mhm.
I'll bounce it off of her, and she'll be like, yeah, they're probably doing this, and I'll say, what should I do about it?
Well,
And then
you said that you talked.
ultimately, I'll email my principal or do something else.
Yeah, your principal should be the first person you go to, because the principal also knows these other people,
Yeah.
okay?
Mhm.
Your sister can advise you
And
in
I'm
theory.
extremely lucky to have the principal in
Yeah.
place to bounce, like, she's actually leaving next year, I'm a little bit nervous about
Yeah.
it, but the assistant principal I'm also pretty close with now.
Yeah.
So I should be good, but a lot of people are in situations where they don't have someone
Yeah,
Right.
that
Mhm.
leads them up. And then at the
Yeah.
same time, I don't feel like equal at this point.
Yeah.
I have to go get a higher degree so I can be, I'm trying to become an occupational therapist. I'm not really happy.
Yeah.
I'm much smarter than the people I'm working under most of the time.
My sister, I have a sister who's an undiagnosed Aspie. She recognized it when Jason was diagnosed, because I told her, I got the answer, and she always related to Jason since he was a little boy. And she said, oh, I think that, so she thought she wasn't in, cried or something. She got thinking about it. She said, no, there's nothing wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with being Aspie. You don't misunderstand. No, neither's Dave.
Yeah, I get that a lot when I told people, like people I'm related to, it's like, oh yeah, I'm on the spectrum. Like, oh, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I was like, I didn't say that there's something wrong with me. So
Mhm.
Nothing
that's
wrong.
Yeah.
What
that's the
is
whole thing.
is.
That's what I'm saying, it's a whole,
yeah.
it's a social thing. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like-
Well, yeah, getting back to your specific situation, okay, yeah, we can advise you in theory, but your principal actually knows the people, and the principal could actually go, and talk to these people if they believe, that there's any validity, and so it's good that you have the principal. One of the things, that, like I made mention of last month is, how I developed social skills and learned all this stuff is by attending a general purpose 12-step program, which I went to for codependency, and basically, having, these people, that speaking into each other's lives, and so that's one of the things that I really believe that we need to have, and I want to start, for the autistic community. It is a similar, thing like that, in order to, because right now, yeah, you're just getting very general information, because we are, running out of time. Yeah, but I would definitely, want to add, more specific details, because yes, it is too easy to just simply blame the autistic for everything, just assume that it comes down to social skills. But as I said in, well, actually, it didn't make it on the video in number one, because the camera ran out, so battery, so I have to redo it. But anyways, is that a lot of these problems aren't actually social, don't have anything to do with social skills, and I'll actually elaborate on that later. I do need to quickly get through this material. Bookstore employee and dishwasher. Okay, this was from, well, when I was doing voc rehab, and yeah, that they had, you know, at this bookstore, I put it in quotes because nowadays these bookstores, you know, who buys books? Yeah, you know, everybody buys Kindle now. Join the 21st.
I tried, but it hurts my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyways, you know, is that,
Nice seeing you, Ken.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you for
yeah.
sharing.
So anyways, you know, bookstore employee and dishwasher is basically, you know, at this bookstore, they had one employee that was actually a, you know, had been hired on by the bookstore itself, okay, and then that they just keep giving them a bunch of volunteers, because the way voc rehab is set up is that the business that we're working with, they're not paying our salary. We're free labor to them. The taxpayers are paying our wage.
Exactly.
Okay, and so
Same with the dishwasher.
yeah, and so yeah, they have one guy, you know, at that restaurant doing dishwasher. Okay, and then for that they get a steady stream of free labor, you know, doing the prep. Okay, I specifically asked to be a waiter, not to be a food server, because I believe that I could actually make a decent living on that. But oh no, you know, our only opening is for, is for prep cook, and so that's basically, you know, reason why the success is very limited is I don't blame the businesses for being smart enough to, you know, to realize, you know, that there's this good deal out there.
It is.
You know, I look at the system for being so naive to set up a system to be abused. You know,
it set you up to fail.
Well, it didn't set me up to fail. It basically, you know.
Unless you want to be a career dishwasher.
Well, yeah, you know, and if you're that, if they don't have that one profession, that one's autistic employee as an actual employee, you know, then you might be able to hire on. But if they have that one autistic employee already as an employee, yeah, you're just going to you know, get your 80 hours and oh, we're sorry, but we don't think we can hire you on permanently.
Yeah.
You know,
that was just a farce.
You know, and so when we're talking about dealing with the system, this is what we need to deal with. Is you know, these job training programs, you know, that they need, you know, that they need to be seriously reformed, so that way, you know, I'll deal with that next month. Okay. And then citizenship volunteer, that's something else that has the potential of me being, you know, if I can get somebody behind me, so I looked at this one place that you know, that does citizenship classes, and they charge $40 a week. Okay, $20 a week, $80 a month. Okay, and for the people that need them, that's a lot of money. $80 a month is a lot of money to them.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you know, it would be possible for me to to set up a program where I can, you know, charge them a reasonable rate that they can afford and at least have some employment. But again, I need somebody to help me set up the program. Okay, and so so jobs that Autistics Aspies are not as successful at as you would think they would be. One is caregiver, because, you know, contrary to, okay, they're going to insinuate when you get hired at, if you do, you know, respite and in-home care, they're going to insinuate the possibility that you might eventually be able 40 hours. Okay, if you have an LPN like my mom did, yes, because she worked with very serious patients that needed 24/7 care. Okay, and so if you have an LPN, yes, you could get that client. Okay, if you have a high school diploma, okay, basically what it is that everybody wants service at the same time. Okay, And so trying to connect multiple clients together, string them together, I won't say it's impossible, but it's not probable, okay? And so if you're only needing part-time employment, it's a viable option. If you need full-time employment, it's a long shot. Plus the fact, it can do a lot of wear and tear. If you go and you work at the rest homes, okay, that's assembly line healthcare. Okay, I have a friend, she went back to school to become an RN. Okay, she went to start working on one of these rest homes, and basically she didn't have time to talk to her patients. These patients were wanting to chat with her. They were lonely. They just want somebody to talk to.
She was in a bad place.
Well, and basically,
Harold was in a good place.
Well, but anyways, it is like she didn't have time. She had to hurry up, take care of this person, and then move on to the next, and move on to the next, move on to the next, and so
that was the place she was working at, though. There's some really good places.
But anyways, but as you can also attest, it's hard on your body. That's the reason why you had to retire is it was too hard on your back. Okay. Oh, well, that too. So
short-term memory.
And then contract security, if you have a car and the economy hasn't crashed. And I don't want to take time to do a full expose on the security industry, but basically it's another one of these things where okay, your job is to observe and report, okay? Okay, you have this panhandler, you're expected to go tell that panhandler to leave the property, okay? But you said you were only supposed to observe. Well, no, that's just the propaganda to justify you paying a dime a dozen wage. The reality is, you're required to do more than just observe and report. You are expected to intervene in certain situations. Of course, you're not going to intervene with a gunman or somebody's violent, stuff like that.
You don't know they're violent when you're saying, please leave this property.
Good point. We actually had a guard attacked by one of these, by a drunk. He was assigned to a department store, and he asked him to leave, and then the drunk started to leave, and then he turned on our guard and got on top and started wailing on him.
Yeah.
Fortunately for that guard, a couple of the day laborers happened to be watching and came to his rescue. The department store itself does not come to the rescue of the guards, okay? Yeah, because basically the whole reason why they contract out to another, to these security companies, is so that way they don't have to pay insurance. If that guard gets injured, it's not on them, okay? And so so that's why, and if their employee goes out there to help the guard and that employee gets injured, then they have to pay for the medical bills of that employee, okay? So they won't send the employee out there to help to save the guard for that reason, okay? And so so when you're talking about contract security, again, I'm not going to go into big long expose. When the economy is good, you can still bounce from job to job to job. It's going to be a menial wage, but you can be working for a while, but keep in mind, contract security is not what it claims to be. It comes right down to it, and again,
I think what it comes down to is education. You've got to get educated.
So
really education.
And so, anyways, okay, and okay, as far as autism leprosy dilemma, which is why I just wanted to, okay, we are running out of time, so we will attach this to next month's lesson, because it probably fits better with that anyways. But anyways, so next month we're actually doing part 2. We're going to be talking about the system, which a lot of people aren't interested in, but we will be talking about the system and what needs to be done to fix the system so it actually puts autistics to work. So thank you.